You're still watching iBrandTV. Now we delve into another topical issue. Now, when you grow up, what do you wish to be? This was one question that many of us grew up with, from family get-togethers to parent-teacher meetings. Nonetheless, it is now an unanswerable question. According to the World Economic Forum, 65% of present-day elementary school students will grow up to work in fields that do not yet exist. Yes, today's classroom is beyond the traditional image of locker desks, chalkboards, and pencils that some of us grew up with. Now, with education expected to prepare children for a fast-changing digital workplace, technology-led learning is becoming the norm. Now, we would further discuss this. Right here with us is Titilokpe Adewusi, CEO and co-founder, Niger Kids. Thank you for joining us on iBrandTV.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we know that the world of work is changing, especially with evolving technology. What are some of the skills that our children need to have, especially to meet up with this changing world of work?
Thank you for that question. I think the first thing is that they need to be able to learn and keep learning. That's really the truth. Like you said earlier on, some of us wanted to be doctors, engineers. Our parents kind of knew what the fields were. If you look at the fact that
some of us wanted to be those things because our parents wanted us to be.
No, I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be a detective from really famous five and those kind of names. But in the end, I ended up doing engineering because my father was an engineer. But today, if you ask our children what they want to be, my son wants to be a YouTube influencer.
Interesting.
You understand? So that didn't exist 20 years, ago, because the internet wasn't a thing. So when you think of the gap of what has happened in 20 years, you ask yourself, the children that are in primary school now, what work would they be doing? Because we didn't have things like Uber drivers. We didn't have things like influencers, TikTok, social media, Instagram. We didn't have Snapchat, 20 years ago. So what it means is that our children need to be able to learn. Gone are those days of cramming something and then plan to pour it out.
La crème la pour.
It's gone. So what they really need is the ability to keep learning. Because remember when we first started, it was just Google. And then we had to learn Instagram. We had to learn Facebook.
Yahoo Mail.
Now it's TikTok. TikTok wasn't there how many years ago? So that ability to be able to learn is really the fundamental thing that they need to have. So it's not about what you're learning today. It's just that at every point in time, if something new comes up, you can learn. We don't even know what kind of jobs. I'm trying to imagine what kind of jobs there will be there. When you look at it,
perhaps virtual jobs.
Perhaps, see what happened with COVID and the remote learning. So everybody suddenly had to learn how to use Slack, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, whatever it was, you had to just learn how to use. It's that ability. So you can see the team is constant. We don't know what it will be, but the ability to learn, not to sit in the classroom and just be cramming.
Stereotype.
No. We don't even know what the jobs will be like. So even when you look at doctors and see what a lot of robots are helping doctors do, so it means that even the field of medicine will change. It's completely different. Before, you needed to go and learn how to use Corel Draw to really draw an e-flyer. Now you just go online and just open Canva and one of those things and 5 minutes, use a template. So it's that ability to learn. If your child can't learn, if they are forced in, the only learning can happen in a classroom. They can't see a tool and say, okay, how does this work? It's going to be a big issue.
But the classroom has to also contribute. But if you look at today's syllabus, is that syllabus, channeled towards preparing those children for that future of work?
No, it's not. I think that's really the major issue. It's not. It's still, you must learn maths, English, and science. Learn it like this and learn it like that. But now, all we really need to be teaching them is that, can you solve a problem? If there's anything that COVID taught us, that we never would know the problems that will come up. But if we come together, rub minds together, and we have that basic problem-solving, critical thinking, then, the sky is the limit. And that's what happened with COVID. Nobody had the answer. For once, nobody had the answer. It wasn't that Africa was disadvantaged. Nobody had the answer. But what did they do? They were able to collaborate, even though they couldn't move. They were collaborating through Zoom, whatever it was, and then thinking, what can we do? And you see the way the solutions were coming. We're just showing that people are thinking, we're doing trial and error. You know, but we were on the lucky side. Nigeria got it right. You know, that was one time I was really proud because the people at the forefront were able to think, and then they got it right. So it's the second real skill required is thinking. Can your child think? And unfortunately, La Paul La Cram doesn't promote thinking. It's like, give me, you know, let's
restricting.
Give me what I gave you. And when you try to write outside of it, let's just say, this is not what I gave you. So it means that things are changing. And the kind of curriculum we need to prefer are the ones that allow children to think, where you just say, you know what, I put these 3 cups on the table, what can you make from it? And the children will be like, okay. The next thing you come back and they've actually created.
And you find that these children of these days, they are so smart. Like, gone were those days, you know, when we were growing up, there were some things that we didn't know, that we weren't exposed to. But if you look at these children now, they can handle tabs, they can handle phones, even as young as 5 years old. It's as if it's ingrained. My son was 2 and he was playing with someone's phone. He couldn't read. Before she knew it, he had bought things worth $20 on her phone. He could not read. But he had this innate ability to maneuver. He couldn't read, to know which one is yes, you know, and before he had pressed, he knew how to go to her phone, get where the games were, and you know how these games can be. Do you want to buy? They know how to put the yes on the. She had pressed yes. She was shocked when she was just getting the alert. So they really have that innate ability. But once we put them in the classroom and we say, you know, this is it. This is the square. You can't come out of this square. Then we're doing them a disservice. And the way technology is going, you have to expose your children to it. You have to expose them to all sorts of things. People are making noise about coding, but the truth is that we don't know if people will be coding in 10 years' time.
Exactly.
When I went to school, the kind of coding we're learning is not the kind of coding you're learning now. We are learning it as like the grassroots. Now there's so many systems where you just need to say, if this, then do this. You don't need to go to the detailed code. They've done all that detailed level. So it's getting easier. So that level of coding is not really required. What's required is problem solving, ability to think. So I want this thing to move from here to there. Can I think it should go left, turn right, you know, so it avoids the table? That's all that's really required. And to allow your children to think, you have to expose them to problem solving projects, you know, just tell them go and solve. We were lucky. Playing outside with sand. Honestly, playing, you call that luck. You didn't know that. I don't know if you did it. Did you build the sugar car, you know, with those empty yes, with the wheels and all that? We were solving problems. We didn't know that's what it was. That's why we seem to be able to still navigate, even though the educational system was restricted. But we can navigate because we played with tire, you know, took the tire. That is
Okay, before you explicate further, you know, regarding critical analysis or thinking for you know, the kids and what have you, let's look at Ninja Kids. Are these the reasons you co-founded Ninja Kids, in terms of, you know, promoting critical thinking, analysis, among others, so that children are well equipped to fit into that, you know, future that is just at the distant horizon?
Yes, that was why. And it, like I said, it was due to my son. He wanted to be on the tablet, you know, and like a typical African mama, you know, go and read your book, you know, so we're always having that running battle. And I realized that this is what he likes, you know. What can I do with this tool? What can I that will help his learning? And that's really how Ninja Kids came about. How do we develop things used on the tablet? How do we develop games? How do we use science, technology, engineering, you know, STEM, which promotes, and that's what STEM does really. STEM promotes critical thinking and problem solving. So you give someone Lego blocks and you're telling him build something. So he has to figure out how does it go one-on-one together. So whether it's offline or whether it's on the tablet, that's really what we're going to achieve.
But if you look at these children, some of them are very easy or quick to pick these things. Some of them are not. How do you identify those who have these difficulties and help them to learn these things?
The thing about children is it's not one size fits all. And that's what a lot of, you know, your parents you read medicine, you know, read engineering. I felt that's the you know, the route to success, but it's not. And so one child would be very fast in learning this and another is not so interested. What's important is really expose them to as many options as possible. So, and once they know that they can solve the problems, any area they're in, then they can succeed. So now it's no longer that he must be a doctor, he must be an engineer. He can still be a writer. But
you as the guardian or the teacher, you have to be able to identify what area of strength that child has.
Yes. But it's not so much that you have to know early, because a lot of us, let's be honest, we didn't even know our area of strength we left university. Actually, what you really want to do is to ensure that the child is learning, his ability to learn. Is it progressing? And then is he using technology? Because that's really the world we live in today. And can he think? Once those three things are happening, then you're fine. He will eventually find what it is. Because some people like now are content creators. Content creator is not only on YouTube. You can be a content creator, you're doing graphics. You can be a content creator, you're actually, on wars and morals. So there's no one way. And that's the mistakes our parents do. It's this way or no way. Can the person create? And you can do expressionism. Some people are creating with dance. Dance. You understand? Some people are creating with dance. Look at one guy that became a instant celebrity over Kobe Kabi. What does he create with? He never says a word. He doesn't say a word, but is he expressing something? Yes, it is. So it's that ability. He was able to find a problem. He was able to find a problem. Do you understand? And that problem had a lot of audience, and that was it. And he was able to create using technology. So you see, it still comes back to the same thing. And can you learn? Now we're using YouTube. I can't say in 20 years' time that's what we'll be using. But can your child learn that? Okay, it's no longer
progress with the progressive
learning. If you give him another tool, he will learn. If you give him another tool, he will learn.
Yeah, so as much as it's important to expose them to different options, technology and all of that, at what point is it appropriate to expose a child to all of this technology? I see a lot of parents giving their children, their 2-year-olds, tabs, phones and all of that. Is it harmful? At what age is it appropriate to expose them to all of these technologies?
Okay. When it comes to technology, we advise not to expose them before 2. And the reasons are very clear. A child is going to develop across a lot of levels. And when they are young, less than 2, they actually develop with regards to their hands and their feet. And so if you give them a tablet, what it does is that it makes them stay and it makes them not speak. But they need to be developing their fine motor skills, their ability to pick up things like this, and those things come with practice. But if you give your child a tablet, then those happen. Children actually only learn language from you speaking. That's why if someone is not spoken to, they actually don't learn to speak. It's amazing. So it's those kind of reasons that we say don't expose them too early. Because if you expose your child to tablets where they are talking to the child is not given the opportunity to speak.
So you're saying the age of 2 is appropriate?
Yeah, from the age of 2 you have to, but then it's limited. Remember, it's like giving your child only a bar, no soup, no meat, no that. There's not a balanced diet.
That's regulated.
Yeah, so you want the child to be exposed to so many things. So it can't be only on the tablet. You want him to be able to learn to run, use, learn creativity outside. So even that time on the device, it needs to be limited. And even if it's not limited, you have to say, what is he doing? Because that's good. A lot of them are consuming, but you want them to be creators. So even if your child's on the device, what's he doing? Okay, so he's learning ABC, but can he also learn how to draw? Can he learn how to color? Rather than he's just watching. So that's really where,
because a lot of parents, in order not to have to deal with a crying child, just leave the children watching cartoons all day, all night.
While they go about doing
their other activities.
So that is completely frowned on. So if you turn off your device or your Wi-Fi at home, you find your children will go outside and play. I'm telling you, they'll go outside and play because it means they can do other things. They can play football, they can learn other things. They'll be interacting with their friends. That's the other downside of giving them a tablet. We need to regulate. We need to regulate. We need to be communicating. We need to build social relationships, and that's one of the downsides of having a device. It's the same way you go for parties now. People are on the same table. Nobody's talking to everyone. On their phone. Everyone is on their phone. So these are some of the downsides. So that means it's affecting relationships. So imagine if you start at a child by 2. That means by the time he's 10, he's not even talking to anybody. Yeah. So these are some of the downsides to it. But in the end, there's balance. So if the parents decide that he can learn to draw, he can go and play with bricks, he can play with Lego, he can do this, then he has 2 hours for this. And when he's on the device, this and what he's doing educational stuff. He's doing something that's also allowing him to communicate, you know, with people. A two-way thing rather than a one-way thing. Then it's not really so
looks like you need a schedule for that.
Apparently, it's
for everything your child that you need to think about it.
All hands on deck approach. Okay, so you talked about critical thinking earlier as one of the necessary tools for, you know, children to be equipped for that future where the jobs do not even exist at this point in time. What other skills or tools are necessary for them to have to, you know, be able to live successfully in that future?
Okay, so you know, the first thing I mentioned is ability to learn, and keep learning. The other thing is critical thinking, problem solving, which are kind of intertwined. The other thing is communication. And communication these days really using social tools. Interesting.